What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in fact. Purple State Party, you know what we're doing here. We're repping America, the center, common sense, freedom, and Israel's right to defend itself. I am not backing down from this point at all. Israel didn't start the war. Israel doesn't hide its forces amongst its civilians. Israel doesn't put rocket launchers on top of hospitals. They don't put military compounds underneath universities and store weapons in mosques. So get your facts straight before you start backing the other side just so you can seem cool. I don't give a fuck about being cool. I'm just trying to be down the middle. I'm trying to rep what I rep. So let's get this shit started. All right, we're going to start this off with the commander-in-chief here, Joe Biden. Wow. Hell of a tweet from the 19th of October. American leadership is what holds the world together. Right. I guess that explains why the world is quickly crumbling into fucking Janky-town. Good God. You know, this guy shoots his mouth off about American leadership. This is a fucking joke of a leadership that we have going on right now. Focused on what he wants to focus on, not what's important. Pure and simple. Same thing with the world. You know, I didn't see him doing anything to mitigate any of the situations around the world. No. He just fucking wants to pay for it all. America's alliances are what keeps us safe. Keeps them safe. You want to keep us safe? Put up a border wall. Control our borders. You control our borders. Ain't nobody coming here. What alliance would we need then? What? Fucking Canada? American values are what makes us a partner that other nations want to work with. Yeah, unless you're like a homophobic tyrant, then you're not going to work with us because Biden doesn't know how to work with these people. He doesn't know how to broker deals. Look at his China policy is just give them gobs of money. Just keep throwing gobs of money out there. This is what the Democrats do. They always say Democrats tax and spend. And that's what they're doing. They're taxing us and they're spending it on the world. Not here. The only money they're spending here is just fucking green energy. Put up some nuclear reactors if you're so concerned about green energy. No? Okay, well then end of conversation as far as I'm concerned. Then they sum it up, because you know he didn't type this, to put all of that at risk if we walk away from Ukraine and turn our backs on Israel. It's just not worth it. Wow. I can agree with you. Turn our backs on Israel. We can't do that. I don't know about the war in Ukraine. You know, I'd love a good fight with Russia. Fuck those people. They shouldn't have invaded. But I don't know if us just pouring gobs of money into an unwinnable war is the answer. I don't think Russia is ever going to concede enough back to the Ukraine to make it worth it, or vice versa. This could just be an ongoing spiral. It's, you know, we think everything's going to get wrapped up in a timely manner because we see things happen like that. But wars, conflicts, border disputes, things like that, they could stretch for decades, man. And I don't know if we can afford that. I don't know. I mean, personally, I don't know why I'm more concerned with Israel than Ukraine. I don't know why. It's just the way I feel. But the one thing that I think personally is that Russia might only want the Ukraine. Hamas wants the world. I don't know. I don't know how far we can push the Ukrainian issue. I don't know. I don't know what's sustainable. And it's hard to trust anybody. Get more into that later. Let's move on. Here's a better, well, this wasn't a tweet because this was Golda Meir in 1957. They removed the words them. They replaced the word them for Arabs. I don't know. We can forgive them for killing our children. We cannot forgive them for forcing us to kill their children. We will only have peace with them when they love their children more than they hate us. That's the enemy that Israel is fighting over there. They are not fighting Hamas because Hamas wants freedom for Palestine. Hamas will take freedom for Palestine. That's fine. They already kind of have it. Hamas wants the destruction of Israel. Pure and simple. That's it. They just want to destroy Israel. They want to kill as many Jews as they can. Right now, the news likes to play the both sides thing and talk about civilian casualties because of what Israel's doing. The truth of the matter is Israel is not killing Palestinian children. Hamas is killing Palestinian children by not allowing them to leave, by stationing their weaponry around children. Hamas is not standing in a field waiting for a battle, and Israel's like, fuck it, let's bomb a school. It's not the way it's working. Hamas is gathered in those schools. What are they supposed to do? There is no ceasefire. There is no negotiation. Hamas will just simply regroup, rearm, and attack again and again and again and again because they're trying to destroy Israel. If they were trying to get freedom for Palestine, they'd be sitting at a table. But they're not. They're hiding in a hospital and launching rockets from a hospital. The media can spin it however they want, but the truth of the matter is Hamas is hiding in hospitals and firing rockets from hospitals. That's a pure and simple thing. They don't give a shit about their kids. Their kids are nothing more than pawns. The more children that get blown up in Gaza, the better it is for Palestine in the propaganda war. Take a quick break from Israel. Newsom ensures new phone alert system for black people who will be separate but equal. They've started this thing where we already have Amber Alerts, but we need to have an alert for people of color. I don't understand. I'd like to make some jokes about how it's going to look and how it's going to sound, but no, it's too serious. This is the kind of shit that you do to get votes, but it doesn't solve anything. We have the Amber Alert system. We already have a system. Whatever. Oh, guess we're back to Israel again. I found this one and I just thought, God, that really sums it up, Trump did sign peace deals between the Arab nations and Israel. Trump did oversee a period of peace for the most part around the world. Certainly not stuff that we were involved with. He tried to de-escalate things. We had troops in Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the Bidens are just watching the world burn. I wish I was saying this politically, motivated by politics. I wish I wasn't saying this because it's true. Things are not going well here, and we're starting to do a spiral because the best and brightest Americans are being corrupted by an education system that has led to what we're seeing at places like Harvard, where students support Hamas. Students support rioting and burning things down. They're so easily led. You just tell people, hey, Hamas is the resistance, and suddenly they're on board. Biden mentioned our American values, but right now he's burning them up. And when he's all done burning it, he's going to put it in the toilet and flush it. Dissed by Saudi Arabia, lectured by Egypt, U.S. diplomacy meets Middle East reality. And this is Blinken. God, this guy is he's just horrible. It's just a terrible administration. It really is. Saudi Arabia made him wait for like an hour plus. And then Egypt's ruler gave us a bizarre history lesson about Palestine. U.S. officials have been unable to get most Arab leaders to denounce Hamas. That was one thing Trump somehow was able to accomplish, was to get through to these knuckleheads. The diplomatic struggle suggests that U.S. influence is receding in the region, where governments' interests often diverge from that of Washington, and both Russia and China are vying for sway. And unequivocal U.S. support for Israel, as opposed to the more nuanced positions it often takes in the Middle East flare-ups, might be the biggest barriers to better relations. So we have to not support Israel to get support among the Middle East. And that's a real shitty position. It makes you want to not even negotiate with these people. But somehow Trump managed to get a couple of them to sign peace deals. I don't get it. Hamas clarifies that they meant to start the type of war where they get to do whatever they want and no one fights back. And that speaks to the ceasefire. I get it. I understand the reactionary position is Israel's launching rockets, it's causing destruction in Gaza. Women and children are dying. But how else are they going to get to these people? I'll say it again. Hamas puts their soldiers in hospitals. Hamas launches rocket attacks from hospitals. It's not like if Israel pulls out right now, Hamas is going to go to the negotiating table. They're lying sacks of shit. These are people who absolutely brutalized average citizens, young women who are enjoying a concert. When they ran for the safety of their car, Hamas was waiting in the parking lot. Hamas videotaped, from GoPros and stuff like that, stomping people to death. They made people watch as their loved ones were brutally murdered and then murdered them. These are not people who are going to the negotiation table. They're not going to go away because Israel pulls out. This is the end. Israel is going after Hamas. And they have to. And they have to root out Hamas wherever they are. I love this piece. This was a piece of a bigger article. But Egyptians are also wary of any suggestion that they take in Palestinians fleeing Gaza, fearing that Israel will never allow them to return, even after it tears apart the tiny strip in its hunt for Hamas fighters. Right. Jordan has also stated they're not taking any. But here, we've got people saying we should take them. Why should we be the caretaker of the world? When did that become mission number one for us? Well, when Biden got elected. I don't want people to suffer, but they have their own countries to fix. They have their own lives to return to. The people of Palestine and Gaza, they elected Hamas, knowing full well what Hamas was. So then when that gets all fucked up, they're supposed to come here? Doesn't make sense. We've got so many people. We're pushing probably 6 to 7 million immigrants in the last couple of years. Many who don't speak English, many who don't have a support system here, many who don't have any real means to ever support themselves. And then you've got a chunk of them who are just coming here to glom off the system or to set up criminal enterprises. People to make a lot of, they talk a lot about the Palestinians, differentiating between the Palestinians and the Hamas. But here, the Palestinian Authority has a law that immediately rewards the family of those Hamas members who died in their attack against Israel with a grant and monthly allowances. That's where their tax dollars are going. Paying Hamas $1,500 grant, $353 a month in a stipend for life. They've already paid out $2.7 million. So how much separation is there? Biden administration to send $75 million to Palestine as intel agencies were buzzing about Gaza Strip. Okay, we give the Palestinian Authority money for humanitarian, needs. They use our money to buy bandages and food and water. And then they use their money to pay Hamas terrorists. As long as Hamas is running the show, there's not going to be peace over there. And the only way to get rid of Hamas is to do what Israel's doing. So people need to back the fuck off and just let it happen. Because it's going to happen. Israel does not listen to other people. They, like Golda Meir once said, they have a secret weapon. They have nowhere else to go. At the center of it all is Iran. Iran's the one who pushes all the buttons over there. Iran's the one with the money. This is by Victor Davis Hanson, Daily Caller. Does Iran realize its own growing danger? Iran understandably believes it is riding quite high. It's flush with cash. It hints it almost has a nuclear bomb and might use it soon. They're bragging about their new allies. Look at this axis of evil. Russia, China, and Iran. Good. Good work, Biden. Didn't do anything to break that up, did you? Iran boasts of now being the self-proclaimed leader of jihad on behalf of all Muslims. And it gloats that it is feeding the Russian war machine by exporting its own drones. So Iran is backing Russia as we back Ukraine. Wow. It eggs on its other pawn, Hezbollah, to launch a reputed 100,000 Iranian-supplied missile attack into Israel. It constantly provokes the U.S., mostly by veiled threats, but every now and then they do something, attack a freighter or something like that. But above all, Iran is giddy over the appeasing Biden administration. You know, Robert Malley here put people in positions of power that were sympathetic to Iran. Robert Malley is trying to get Biden, and Biden's pretty much going along with the disastrous Iran deal. The Biden administration has reportedly replied only 4 times to some 83 Iranian attacks on Americans. He's showing weakness to them. He lifted sanctions, allowing Iran to garner tens of billions of dollars in new oil sales. And some of that money went to Hamas. He resurrected the unhinged Obama administration plan of empowering a Shiite crescent of Iran, Syria, and Hezbollah in Lebanon, and including Hamas in Israel, by giving them money. The U.S. State Department reversed Trump's policy of halting payments to the PA, Palestinian Authority, back in 2021, despite the high risk the million sent may find its way to Hamas. It doesn't matter if it's the money that Biden gave you that paid Hamas. It's that you gave them money that they could then use their money to pay Hamas. What part of that math equation doesn't add up for people? We just paid $1.2 billion per captive. And God knows who those prisoners are that they gave back, what they're going to end up doing. We restored $1 billion in aid to the West Bank and Gaza, knowing that it was going to be intercepted by terrorists. Tehran proudly supplied and funded Hamas's savage murdering of Jewish children in Israel. And by allowing Iran to mollify, or the mollification of Iran, has led Hamas and Hezbollah to believe that if they started a war, Iran would guarantee their victory and U.S. would do nothing, and likely force Israel to do the same nothing. Attack Israel. When Israel responds, the world will call for a ceasefire. We rebuild, we rearm, we attack again. We just keep attacking. Because remember, Iran, they're in that same boat. They just want the destruction of Israel. They just want to kill Jews. So if you kill 2,000 Jews, retreat, rearm, all that, go back in a year, kill another 2,000. It doesn't matter. They're still dead Jews. Hamas and Hezbollah are not working for some idealistic paradise. They want to rule with an iron fist and kill Jews. But the world despises Iran, and it now finally accepts that it cannot be appeased. Arab nations neither want Gazan refugees anywhere near them or their terrorists whom Gaza's one time voted into power. Even Europe abhors Hamas's pre-civilizational butchery of Israeli citizens. So Iran is starting to lose in the court of public opinion here. People are starting to realize that Hamas is made up of people from Gaza. And that's a dangerous situation to allow them into your country. They're seeing that in Germany, where massive protests in support of Palestine broke out with violence. Iran's new patron, will be of little help because it's bogged down in Ukraine and hemorrhaging under sanctions and the ostracism of the world. Nor has Moscow forgotten its own long violent history with Islam, Chechnya. And China only cares about the delivery of Middle East oil, calm sea lanes, and injuring the United States. See, China only cares about injuring the United States. But we, under Biden, are poised to give them billions and billions. Because as we're going to see, there's a lot more money for China to grab. China is being given free rein to wreak havoc on the world, mostly because they bought and paid for the U.S. president, Joe Biden. After the Afghanistan humiliation, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Chinese flagrant spy balloon mission over the American heartland, 8 million illegal aliens, there you go, 8 million illegal aliens waved into the southern border, and woke hysteria, Americans may have finally woken up that they dangerously, almost fatally, have squandered prior hard-earned deterrence and must reboot. In other words, we're losing power around the world. If our ideals are what's going to keep the world together, if our leadership is what's going to keep the world together, we better be on solid footing. We better have the high ground. But we're on the high ground, and we're letting the far left dig us into a hole. We may be on top of a mountain, but we're deep down in a hole where we can't see the enemy coming. We don't want to. We're all down there. Oh, if we close our eyes, nothing bad will happen. Fuck that action. These two girls and others like them, NYU students caught on camera removing posters of missing Israelis. That's so un-American. Those two right there and that guy that I saw on a video, I don't know where the video is. I see too many. I can't capture them all. You are not Americans. I wish you could just go the fuck home. Go back to wherever it is that you think you're going to have a better life. How about that? You don't like freedom? You don't like America? Fine. Those posters are not calling for death. They're not calling for murder. They're just saying these people have been kidnapped and we'd like these people back. This sums it up. These kids don't know what they are protesting. They don't know what they're saying. They have just been fed lies forever, and they're just pawns. Just pawns. Just stop oil gluing themselves to streets. NYU students removing missing posters of Israeli citizens. You just want to rebel. You just want to be a part of the resistance. So somebody tells you you're the resistance. Huh. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure there were a lot of people in Germany in the late 30s, early 40s, who thought they were part of some sort of resistance. They thought they were part of some greater good. How did that turn out? You know, it's really easy for college students in Harvard and Paris to support Palestine or even support Hamas. Because you know what? Hamas ain't coming to Harvard. How would you feel if these people were actually in your neighborhoods? Well, I got bad news for you. More than likely, they're here and they're building. Because we don't have any border control. We just don't. You could become a radicalized Muslim here in America. You could become a homicidal Nazi here in America. Geography is not what's at question here. It's the ideology up here. It's the ability to brainwash other people and make them believe that committing horrendous acts is going to lead to change. That's not the way Martin Luther King did it. Joe Biden here, again, whoever runs his Twitter, his X. The vast majority of Palestinians are not Hamas. Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people. Really? You don't represent us. How about that, Joe? Does that change anything? No, you're still the fucking president, right? I still have to pay my taxes to your administration for you to waste on shit that I consider worthless. All right? These kinds of statements make it sound like Israel has a choice in who to kill. Like I said earlier, Hamas is not over here in a field and Israel just says, hey, let's just bomb a hospital for the hell of it. No. These are little cockroaches that are hiding everywhere. Much like your little lefties, cockroaches hiding everywhere, waiting to spring up. This statement may very well be true, but guess what? Hamas does represent them. Hamas does rule over them. But meanwhile, here in America, you have no problem with people harassing Republicans using the N-word to people like Candace Owens. Because, Donald Trump's bad. Oh, Donald Trump's a mean person. He's a fat body. And you paint anybody who's not on your side as an enemy. So don't give me this shit, Joe. Get the anti-Israeli propaganda ready. Yeah, that kind of happened. We're going to cover that a little bit more. But that's what Hamas was counting on. They were counting on the liberal Westerners to come to their defense. And in many cases, they have. And when they don't come directly to Hamas's defense, they around it. Oh, ceasefire. The only reason you have a ceasefire is so you can put your weapons down and talk. You really think Hamas is going to talk this one out? And I just want to point out right now, because to me, gay rights, allowing people of the LGBT community to just live like the rest of us, is very important to me. Very important to me. But in Gaza, homosexuality is outlawed, and open queerness violates social and religious morals. Mores, I guess you could say, too. Who are you supporting? You think the people of Gaza ever went to Hamas and said, hey, can we tone it down on, the anti-LGBT? No, they probably didn't. And Hamas certainly isn't. What, you think Hamas is trying to, free Gaza so it could become a gay Mecca? No, I mean, if you want a gay Mecca, you know where you go? You go to fucking Israel. Tel Aviv is 25% queer. They have a population a little above 400,000, which means there are 100,000 gay people living open, free lives in Tel Aviv. Put that in perspective. Look up some of the U.S. cities. 25% is higher than our top 5 combined. That's what the truth is. Israel's the person who's on the side of progressive policies. Israel wants to be more progressive. Right now, they're not ruled by the Progressive Party. They're ruled more by the right. But that has to do with some other things other than necessarily civil rights. Israel, 75% Jewish. The rest, just Arabs. Arabs and Europeans and people living together in peace and harmony, really. Israel takes their security very serious. And in Tel Aviv is rated one of those places where it rates very highly on gay travel sites, single females wanting to get out and see the world. It's a safe place. Because Jews don't practice hate. Hamas practices hate. So the Egyptian Gaza border has finally opened to allow aid in. And we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to, monitor that and make sure that Hamas isn't taking the aid. Blinken appealed to all sides. Oh, please, Hamas, don't take the aid. Palestinian civilians are not responsible for Hamas's horrific terrorism. They were Palestinian civilians who became Hamas. So, yeah. And they should not be made to suffer for its depraved acts. Talk to Hamas, buddy. If Hamas steals or diverts this assistance, it will have demonstrated once again that it has no regard for the welfare of the Palestinian people. It will also make it hard to keep the aid flowing. Well, it's going to be hard to keep the aid flowing because Hamas doesn't give a shit about the Palestinian people. Israel cares more about the Palestinian people than Hamas. Period. Full stop. End of subject. And this other guy brought up the popular refrain here. The reprehensible assault on Israel 2 weeks ago can never justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Well, I'll point it out again. If Hamas was in Los Angeles, launching rocket attacks from hospitals and sending people over into Las Vegas to just murder people at a rave in Vegas, we wouldn't stand by and allow that to happen. And because of the Second Amendment, we wouldn't have to. I would be dead. I would go down in a blaze of glory. I would not allow a group like Hamas to put a rocket launcher on my roof. And if they did it at a hospital, me and a lot of people from this area would gather up our rifles and we would go. This is America. We are not afraid of evil. We fight evil. And evil is the scared one. Because evil is the one that has to hide in the shadows and has to hide behind women and children. That's just the truth of the matter, folks. One of the things I always worry about is the fact that the news has become so clickbaity. We don't know who to trust anymore. There was that explosion at a hospital in Gaza. And of course, the disinformation on that were just staggering. Palestinian officials quickly said it was an Israeli airstrike. The New York Times, Wall Street Journal, the Associated Press, CNN, and BBC, the heavyweights of the news prominently reported the claim without caveats, without backing it up. But Israel told a different story. The explosion was the result of a malfunctioned rocket. And then people said, but they don't have rockets that can make that kind of damage. And then other reports said it landed in a parking lot. And then other reports said, the rocket hit ammunition stores. Yeah, well, the U.S. officials have said that their own intelligence supports the Israeli versions of the events. There's videos of the rocket. There's conversations. But who do we know? How do we know what to believe? Because we have allowed the clickbait, the us versus them mentality, the blue states are bad, red states are bad, blue people, blah, 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 blah. We've allowed that to fester to the point now where we don't know who to trust. Those are some heavyweights up there. And they quickly ran with Israel bad. How are we supposed to trust them anymore? How are we supposed to trust anybody? Hey, here's somebody you can trust. Mexican cartels are threatening anyone who moves, cuts, or laces anything with fentanyl as it's too dangerous. They literally sent out a message, stop selling fentanyl, sign the Chapitos. Unbelievable. Our government can't do anything. Well, our government is not doing enough to stop fentanyl, whether it's the local, the state, the feds. But the cartels, and this is only my guess based on what I know about this particular subject. I love cocaine. I have no problem saying that. It's fun. I like it. But you know what? I don't do it anymore. 2 reasons. One, I'm getting too old for it, really. Got to slow down at some point. But mainly because I'm scared to death of fentanyl. All right? I'm pretty sure the way I go about it, I'm getting a lethal dose of fentanyl if it's in there. And that's part of the problem. Cocaine is sold at a higher price to a higher class of people than fentanyl. If you scare off all of your Coke customers, you're going to lose money. America's putting pressure on the Chinese to stop the flow of chemicals to Mexico. We'll wait and see. And I'm sure these guys are starting to think that even sleepy Joe Biden will eventually do something. And if the United States wanted to do something about the cartels, we would do something about them. Right now, the cartels have to face police officers who are often outgunned and out-armored. If we get involved, it's going to be a fucking Predator drone, okay? It's going to be airstrikes in the middle of the night. It is going to be the vaporization of an entire compound. That's what we can do. But they're smart. I give them credit. This is like a Trump comment that gets taken out of context. But the Sinaloa cartel, smart people. We'll switch back to dumb people. The Inspector General of the Department of Energy, Terry Donaldson, issued a stark warning Thursday that the Joe Biden administration is not properly equipped to manage a behemoth $400 billion green energy loan program. On the issue of not funding our adversaries, I am greatly concerned about how things are going in that regard. They're 6 months into it. They have 3 employees, no written procedures, no clear path on what projects to vet. And you know the Chinese are just taking that money. And then they give it over to Iran, who gives it over to Hezbollah. That's the way it works. I'm not making that shit up. There have been many multiple levels of failure in the creation of the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. It increases the national debt, it harms the economy, and it poses conflicts of interest concerns and serves to benefit Chinese industry. They talk about green energy here, but a lot of the green energy companies here fail. When the subsidies run out, the demand's just not there. More and more, we're seeing reports detailing how researchers connected to Chinese military and intelligence services have penetrated our university systems and research institutions, exploiting an atmosphere of open inquiry and free exchange of ideas to pilfer intellectual property. We need to wake up to the threat, not finance it. The IRA should not be used to fund America's Chinese competitors. Unfortunately, it appears few real safeguards are in place to prevent this misuse of taxpayer dollars. The Inflation Reduction Act, not reducing inflation at all. The Office of Energy has been given $400 billion. To put that in perspective, Wells Fargo, one of the nation's largest banks, has an outstanding domestic, commercial, and industrial loan balance of $292 billion. But the scary part comes last here. Further, many of these projects are designed to promote innovation by financing projects not otherwise acceptable by private equity investors. Projects the market do not view acceptable. Holy shit. So he's going to take $400 billion and he's going to help fund things that the private sector says it'll never work. It's not worth it. Yeah. America first, you fucking nitwit. You fucking nitwit. You're literally creating a scenario where every bad idea, as long as it's framed as green energy, can get money. I'm going to study how to remove carbon dioxide by smoking weed and watching snails. Oh, wow. Hey, that might solve something. Here's a couple $1 million. See, that's the problem. You can give a company $100 million to figure out how to put solar panels into orbit. And that company collects a salary for a couple of years and then folds up shop. Never doing a goddamn thing. That's why private equity investors, that's why private should be driving the green energy. If it is not financially viable to put a bunch of electric car chargers out there, why are we doing it? Private businesses will find those little gaps in the market and fill it because that's what they do. But, you know, he let the cat out of the bag. The Inflation Reduction Act has little to do with inflation, much less even reducing it. Look at this. These are the numbers. Rather, with $6 allotted to renewable energy projects for every $1 allocated to American manufacturing, the IRA is a big, fat green energy bill masquerading as an industrial policy. And it's going to get taken advantage of, much like all the COVID money was scammed. Sure, they're getting some of it back. Yeah, you know, but they're not going to get it back here. They're not. Like I said, with the solar panels in orbit, you collect your salaries, you make your money, business folds up, you move on to the next one. And Biden's going to finance that stupid idea of yours. Instead of putting money where we need it. Why is it that we have people in America who are going hungry? Why do we have people in America who don't even have access to, like, clean drinking water or decent internet speeds. Those are good things to put in money for. You know, we put up the transmission means, and then we let private industry service the customers. But there's just $400 billion. And it's going to go to garbage ideas. So, this is an interesting one here because it shows how numbers are used. Report shows blue counties have higher murder rates than red. Calls out flawed studies promoted by top Dems. Newsom has publicly stated that 8 out of the top 10 murder sites are red. Right? Mega donor Soros wrote in the Wall Street Journal last year, violent crime in recent years has generally been increasing more quickly in jurisdictions without reform-minded prosecutors. And murder rates have been falling fastest in some Republican states. What? Have been rising fastest in some Republican states led by tough-on-crime politicians. The author of that report that they are quoting said that they used a flawed methodology because crime is a local issue, and therefore crime analysis must be undertaken at a local level. It is true that red states have higher homicide rates than blue states, but the problem with that is that crime is hyper-localized. It doesn't make sense to talk about it at a state level. It makes sense to talk about it at a local level because that's where the prosecutions occur. I mean, think about it. They could tell you a state's dangerous, but if you're not even going to that part of the state, you see, the local level crime is handled at the local level by local police. So when you look at the question on a local basis, namely the county level, you see the trend is reversed. State by state, 34% higher in red states than blue states. Okay? But when you look at it county by county, much smaller than the state, LA County is much smaller than California, 60% higher in blue counties than red counties. You look at homicide rates by county, state. State shows skewed distributions with many counties having little or no homicides and a handful of counties with excessively high homicide rates. Thus, state homicide rates can be heavily influenced by a few counties. I mean, that sounds fair, yes. I don't like Democrats. I don't like Republicans either. I think both of them are playing us. But as voters, we need to know what the truth is. The truth is that the blue policies are not working. And they have to lie about it. And one of the things they talked about, too, is red state, blue state. Well, Biden won Arizona in 2020. The last time that happened was Clinton in 96, so 24 years. Donald Trump won Florida in 2016 and 2020, but Barack had won it in 2008 and 2012. So even the idea of a red state or a blue state or a purple state is a bit wonky because that can change. But they don't want to look at the local level. There was actually, between 2002 and 2008, 88% higher rate of homicide in blue counties than red counties. And between 2014 and 2022, there was a 62% increase. I just said I don't really like Republicans to spend weekend brainstorming on how to be more of an embarrassment. Dude, figure your shit out, man. You know, there's two parties. The Democrats are destroying this country. They are literally destroying this country, and they're destroying the next generation. Don't believe me? Fine. I don't care. I see what I see. All right? But this is fucking embarrassing, dude. Trump skirts gag order with mini Trump ventriloquist doll. That's pretty funny. Yeah, he is entertaining, and he is better than Biden. But Purple State is about unity. It's about pulling together and demanding more out of our politicians and turning our back on the clickbait news and finding reputable sources of information. We need to get America back on track. It is off track. And the only way we're going to do it is through unity. So I'm urging everybody to vote for a third party. We need a third voice at the table that says, hey, you over there and you over there, you're very close to the right idea, but here's the right idea. It's in the middle. That's the only way it's going to work. We need to abolish red states and blue states and have all purple states. I'm Kid Copious. I'm purple state, and so are you. Love one another. Pray for Israel and pray for all the children of the world. And I mean all, because they all deserve to have a chance to grow up. Peace, y'all. Dance it out now.